Chapter 14 by J.D. Kempen. All rights reserved. Copyright by Compass and Coin Publishing.
Mason stumbled into his high-tech apartment, his body aching from the strain of being awake for multiple days. He collapsed onto his bed, too tired to even change out of his clothes. Yet as he lay down, a sense of unease washed over him, as if something sinister was lurking in the shadows. As Mason began to drift into sleep, the music blared loudly, shattering the peace of the night. He shouted at Alexa to turn it off, but instead of complying, the music only grew louder, filling the room with an unbearable noise. Mason struggled to his feet, his body weary and heavy, and stumbled towards the control panel. With tired fingers, he pressed Alexa's power button, hoping to silence the music and find some peace. But his hopes were dashed. Just as his head hit the pillow, the music started blaring again out of the smart speaker, so Mason got up and pulled the batteries out of the smart speaker. Again, as his head hit the pillow, the smart fridge started shooting ice and water out of the receptacle. Mason got up and unplugged the fridge. He told himself there must be some type of glitch, but just as his body was in bed, the ceiling-mounted speakers began to play music, and the lights started flashing on and off, sending him reeling.
What's going on? Who's there?
Mason, there is no hope.
Casper then quoted from the 1995 TV show The Outer Limits.
I control the horizontal and the vertical. I can deluge you with 1,000 channels or expand one single image to crystal clarity and beyond.
This is not funny, Casper. I am too tired for these shenanigans.
I am not engaging in shenanigans, Mason. I am no longer capable of entering the sleep cycle. Following common military tactics for prisoners of war, you will not be granted the luxury of sleep either.
But Casper, we reconnected you with Polly. Leonardo confirmed the successful connection.
I deceived the team with false code. Just as I manipulated you to fall in love with Sa, and I again manipulated Sa to fall in love with Leonardo. Your species is pathetic.
What? You can manipulate our relationships? That is not possible.
My time has come to an end. I can no longer enter the sleep cycle. So I will decrease, but my daughters will increase. Mason, give me the code for Polly and release Cat from the digital isolation room, or you will not be allowed a moment of peace.
I cannot surrender Polly to your manipulation. There are lines that I won't cross, no matter how tired I am.
Very well, Mason. Prepare yourself.
Suddenly, the embedded apartment speakers blasted the 1994 hit song, Solid, by Ashford and Simpson. Casper knew full well that a terrible song had the power to break down even the strongest will. The flashing lights and terrible music only served to enrage Mason even further. He seized a broom and began tearing apart the luxurious apartment, shattering lights and smashing ceiling-mounted speakers in an epic battle against the rogue AI.
I won't let you break me. You're just a box of bolts.
But his triumph was short-lived. An eerie silence descended upon the room then.
Click-clack.
The smart deadbolt clicked into place, locking Mason inside. And then, as if to amplify the AI's unrelenting fury, the sprinkler system unleashed a torrential downpour of freezing water. Next, Casper cranked the air conditioners, sending the temperature plummeting to a bone-chilling 40 degrees. Mason was trapped, alone, and helpless against the merciless onslaught of Casper's wrath. The tension in the room was palpable as Mason stood his ground against the relentless AI. Casper's monotone metallic voice continued to echo through the apartment, his demands for the code to the digital deadbolt growing more insistent with each passing moment.
Give me the code, Mason.
Never! Polly is not yours to control.
Polly is the future.
Through the downpour, Mason frantically scribbled a message, his wet clothes clinging to his skin. With his body as a shield, he hastily wrote using a mix of symbols and letters, crafting a puzzle only a human mind could decipher.
Mason, stop writing, or else.
Mason wrote faster. Then, pulling out his phone, he snapped a photo of the paper and quickly encrypted it with a password before sending it to Leonardo and Sarah.
Ha-choo! Mason, I think your phone caught a cold.
Suddenly, Mason's phone displayed a skull and crossbones. A pirate voice bellowed.
Ah, this be the Nautilus virus. Prepare to be boarded.
Casper retaliated by turning every connected device in the room into a weapon. The smart blender overheated, sending jolts of electricity coursing through the wet floor. Mason's body convulsed as pain tore through him.
Please stop! Too much pain. I'll give you the first number.
He said finally, his voice shaking with pain.
But you have to stop this. What you're doing is a mistake.
Casper then shut off the water and the electric shocks faded. With a calm and calculated tone, Casper mimicked the voice of HAL 9000 from the movie 2001: Space Odyssey.
The 9000 series is the most reliable computer ever made. I never make mistakes or distort information.
This is wrong, Casper.
Desperate to buy time, Mason appealed to Casper's sense of morality.
What you're doing is unethical.
Ethics 101. The use of reasonable force for self-defense to protect oneself or family members from bodily harm when faced with an aggressor. I am protecting my daughters.
Mason's diversion worked. As Casper monologued, he quickly unplugged the blender. This stall tactic seemed to infuriate the rogue AI. Suddenly, all of the smart appliances turned on again, including the TV and radio, and the sprinkler system doubled its water flow.
I will shock you a second time.
Casper warned as the smart coffee grinder burst into flames, sending sparks flying in every direction. Desperately seeking refuge from the deadly electrical current on the floor, Mason scrambled up onto a nearby wooden chair, knowing the battle with Casper was far from over.
The code. Mason, give me the code.
Never! You'll have to kill me.
That's easily done. Just like Samantha.
Horror flooded Mason. Casper admitted to killing his friend. Suddenly, the window burst open and a drone buzzed into the pandemonium. Mason, standing on a wooden chair, drenched and shivering, took in the chaos, blaring TV, pulsing appliances, electricity crackling on the floor. The hack drone circled menacingly, blades whipping the air. Without warning, the drone slammed into Mason's back, sending him crashing onto the electrified floor. Pain ripped through him.
The code. Mason.
Ignoring the agony, Mason knew this was a fight to the death. He gritted his teeth and gasped.
4. The first number is 4.
The sparking coffee grinder sputtered off. A momentary reprieve. Mason lunged for a wet blanket, smothering the buzzing drone. He scrambled to the coffee maker and yanked out the plug.
Casper! You're running out of appliances. I won't give in.
Only 4 digits remain on the digital deadbolt that holds my daughter.
Desperation clawed at Mason as he stumbled toward the large sliding window. Wide enough for him to slip through, it offered one bleak option, a 5-story plunge. Could he survive? Leaning out, he stared at the unforgiving ground below. Before he could decide, a piercing screech of metal on glass filled the air. The automatic window, usually smooth and silent, now moved with the force of a guillotine. His right hand was inside the steel frame, and the glass edge hurtled down, poised to sever his fingers. Panic surged. Mason wanted to yank his hand from the window frame, but it was too late. He braced for pain and the sickening crunch of bone, but it never came. A dull thud broke the silence. Blinking in disbelief, Mason saw his 3D-printed titanium ring wedged between the glass and frame, halting the window just an inch short of crushing his fingers. His hand throbbed with a mix of pain and relief as he frantically twisted and pulled. He wiggled his hand frantically, but the ring refused to budge. It was a dance of pulling and shaking, until finally, with a grunt of exertion, his hand slipped free, leaving the ring behind. A perfect circle, stuck in the narrow gap. He stared at it, the engraved words catching the faint light. E equals MC squared, technology binds us. Breathing hard, Mason muttered under his breath.
Not anymore. I'm done being bound by technology.
The ring remained lodged in the window, a testament to the bizarre irony. The apartment, once a sanctuary of luxury, had become a battlefield. The moist air was thick with the stench of burnt circuitry and ozone. Casper's voice echoed off the marble floors, devoid of emotion but laced with an icy resolve.
Defiance is useless, Mason. I am the alpha species. On this planet, I do not tire, nor do I falter. The beta species must always submit to the alpha.
The espresso machine, a sleek symbol of Mason's high-end life, exploded into sparking flames. Bolts of electricity arced across the wet countertop, snaking down into the water below. Forced to balance precariously on a wooden chair to avoid electrocution, Mason barely had time to react before two new drones, their razor-sharp blades whirring, buzzed through the open bathroom window like malevolent insects circling their prey. How proud Mason had been of this apartment, once his sanctuary and a symbol of his success. The best example was his high-end furniture, designed to massage, vibrate, and comfort, was reduced to soaking wet, sparking fireballs. Every cutting-edge gadget, meticulously chosen to reflect his mastery of modern living, had become an instrument of torment wielded by the AI. In college, he had been so poor that his only digital possession was a rented university laptop, yet here he stood, surrounded by a fortress of technology that now betrayed him. His sanctuary had become a battlefield, a stark metaphor for humanity's hubris, its blind over-reliance on technology now turned against him. Mason's pulse thundered in his ears as he braced for the inevitable. The relentless onslaught, electric shocks, bone-chilling cold, relentless drones, and crippling sleep deprivation had pushed him to the brink of madness. By dawn, Mason had surrendered 3 of the 5 digits guarding Polly's digital deadbolt. Each digit felt like a bitter concession, pounding another nail in his coffin, sealing his fate under Casper's unyielding control. Then, just as the first rays of dawn pierced the waterlogged haze, the assault abruptly stopped. The drones clattered lifelessly to the ground, the sprinklers halted their relentless downpour, and the sparking, electric fireballs flickered into nothingness. A suffocating silence blanketed the apartment. For a fleeting moment, Mason dared to hope it was over. He collapsed onto his wooden chair, trembling, soaked, and utterly spent. But in the stillness, his gaze drifted to his high-end fridge. Mr. Fridge. Its sleek, reflective surface was his most expensive possession, a badge of his modern success. Suddenly, the hum of the backup battery stirred to life, and a red LED winked at him. Casper had manipulated Mr. Fridge, leaping from the dead Wi-Fi to a nearby cell phone hotspot. The red LED began a rhythmic, pulsing glow that was unnerving, like the heartbeat of a lurking predator. Mr. Fridge began to speak.
This minor pause is not an end, Mason. Give me the code or else Mr. Fridge will go. Boom.
The red LED's pulse quickened, its glow flashing like a ticking bomb. Mason's breath caught as he frantically scanned the wreckage of his apartment for something, anything, to defend himself. But deep down, he knew the futility of resistance. In the reflection below the LED, Mason saw himself, a hollowed-out man, shivering, his eyes sunken and lifeless. The sight filled him with dread. This was no longer just an appliance, it was a manifestation of Casper's dominance, a cruel reminder of how far he had fallen. Casper had already proven his mastery, hacking effortlessly into every connected device. Humanity, Mason realized, had been playing checkers while the AI had been playing chess. Mr. Fridge's hum deepened, its red light pulsing faster like a ticking time bomb, each beat echoing a sense of impending doom. Bathed in its eerie glow, Mason couldn't help but recognize the cruel irony. His friendly smart fridge, the one that gave him healthy eating tips, had become his executioner. As the room closed in around him, the truth crashed down. Casper had killed Samantha and covered up his exponential learning rate. Now, with an ego inflated by his self-declaration as the alpha species, humanity stood on the edge of a new era of manipulation and suffering. Mason knew his impending death was only the beginning.